In the dim twilight of a distant world, the city of Zarithia glittered like a cluster of stars fallen to the earth. Its towering structures, all sleek metal and shimmering glass, pierced the darkening sky. In this city of advanced technology and interstellar trade, not all that glimmered was gold, and not all who walked its streets were free. Jacob Turner, a human relief worker from Earth, had been stationed on Zarithia for 6 months, working tirelessly to improve the lives of its countless refugees and slaves. His heart, though weary from the sights of suffering, had not yet hardened to the pain of others. It was this compassion that led him down the lesser-known paths of Zarithia, where the shadows clung more tightly and the light of the cosmopolitan core seldom reached. On one such evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Jacob's life was set to change in a way he could never have anticipated. He stumbled upon a clandestine market, its existence whispered about but rarely confirmed, a place where sentient beings were bartered like trinkets. His heart lurched at the sight, fueling a fiery resolve. Among the chained and the downtrodden, one figure caught his eye, a Zillian female, ethereally beautiful but with sadness that seemed to eclipse her surroundings. Her name was Ilara, and her eyes held the weight of 1,000 sorrows. Despite her graceful demeanor, she bore the marks of cruelty upon her delicate skin, a stark contrast to the vibrant spirit that seemed to flicker beneath. Driven by a surge of indignant fury, Jacob maneuvered through the crowd, his every step fueled by an unspoken promise to end her misery. With the help of some carefully saved credits and a few well-placed words against the morally bankrupt trader, he secured her freedom. The shackles fell from her wrists, clattering onto the cold, uncaring ground, yet the chains around her spirit were not so easily cast aside. As they left the market behind, the night air felt sharper, carrying with it the scent of impending rain. Ilara, unaccustomed to kindness without strings, kept close to Jacob, her gaze oscillating between wariness and wonder. The city around them felt both oppressive and awe-inspiring, a maze of lights and shadows that mirrored her tumultuous emotions. Jacob offered her a place in his modest dwelling, a small 2-room habitat unit that was sparsely furnished but filled with warmth. He introduced her to his world of humanity and healing, showing her that not all beings sought to dominate or destroy. In those first days, Ilara spoke little, her voice a mere whisper when she did, as if afraid it might shatter the fragile peace she was beginning to experience. Night after night, she found solace in the simplicity of his presence. A bond, strange and new, began to form between them, woven from silent understanding and shared moments of quiet resilience. Ilara, who had known only the suffocating confines of servitude, found something in Jacob that felt like freedom but warmer. One evening, as the rain finally came, tapping gently against the windows of the habitat, Ilara approached Jacob. Her voice, clearer than he had ever heard it, carried a simple, heartfelt request. "May I stay with you tonight?" she asked, her eyes not pleading but open, vulnerable. "I feel safe with you." Jacob, taken aback by the intensity of the moment, nodded silently. That night, with the rain a soft symphony around them, Ilara slept peacefully for the first time in years, curled up beside him in his bed. It was not a gesture of possession but one of trust, a silent acknowledgement that she was no longer alone. As dawn crept over Zarithia, coloring the sky with hues of orange and pink, Jacob watched Ilara sleep. In her tranquility, he saw a reflection of all he had hoped to find in this distant world, not adventure or acclaim, but the chance to make a difference, one life at a time. Little did he know, the journey they had embarked upon together was only just beginning. As the first light of Zarithia's twin suns filtered through the sparse curtains of Jacob's habitat, Ilara awoke with a start. Her dreams had been a chaotic blend of past horrors and newfound hopes, leaving her heart pounding yet oddly invigorated. Beside her, Jacob still slept, his breathing even and calm, a stark contrast to the turmoil within her. She watched him for a moment, his features softened by sleep, and felt an unfamiliar surge of gratitude mixed with an inexplicable fear of losing this fragile piece. Ilara slipped from the bed quietly, not wanting to disturb the first peaceful sleep she'd had since her enslavement. The room was cluttered with Jacob's life, books about alien cultures, tools for repairs, small gadgets from Earth, a testament to his life as a helper, a fixer of things broken. She moved to the window, her gaze drawn outward. Zarithia was awakening, its busy drones beginning their daily hum, and the skyline bathed in the golden light of dawn. It was beautiful and daunting, filled with possibilities that were as terrifying as they were alluring. As she stood there, a soft noise alerted her to Jacob's waking. He sat up, rubbing his eyes, and smiled at her, a simple gesture that seemed to anchor her swirling emotions. "Good morning, Elara," he said, his voice groggy but warm. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes, thank you," she replied, her voice still a whisper, but steadier now. "Your world, it's very different from mine." "It's not my world, not really," Jacob corrected gently, swinging his legs off the bed to join her by the window. "It's just where I am right now. But I hope it can feel a bit like yours too." Together, they watched the city come to life, the conversation flowing more freely than Elara had expected. She talked of her home planet, Xylia, with its vast oceans and shimmering sands, a stark contrast to the metal and glass of Zarithia. Jacob listened intently, his curiosity about her world evident in his every question. As the day progressed, Jacob showed Elara around the parts of Zarithia that he knew she would find less intimidating. They visited a market, not like the one of her nightmares, but one filled with vibrant colors and the laughter of children. Elara's eyes widened at the array of exotic fruits, their odd shapes and brilliant hues unlike anything she had seen before. Jacob bought her a fruit called a glimberry, tart and sweet, which made her laugh for the first time, a sound that surprised both of them. That laughter, light and unburdened, marked a turning point for Elara. It wasn't just the laughter of amusement but of release, of beginning to accept that perhaps not every day would be a struggle for survival. Jacob watched her, his heart light at her joy, but his mind wary of the shadows that still lingered in her gaze. As they returned to his habitat, Elara's thoughts turned inward once more. The joy of the day was a bright spot against her darker memories, but it was a stark reminder of how much she had lost and how far she had to go. She knew she couldn't cling to Jacob forever, she needed to find her own place in this strange new world. That night, as they sat together, a silent agreement passed between them. They would help each other navigate the challenges ahead, neither of them quite sure of the destination, but certain of their companionship. Elara, once a captive of her past, was slowly stepping into the role of an architect of her future, with Jacob by her side, not as a savior, but as a friend, a fellow traveler on a path they would define together. Elara's integration into the rhythms of Zarithia was punctuated by small victories and inevitable setbacks. Each day brought its own set of challenges, from navigating the complex social hierarchies of the city to understanding the unspoken rules that governed its inhabitants. Jacob, ever patient, served not only as her guide but also as her anchor, helping her to steady herself against the tide of overwhelming new experiences. One afternoon, as they traversed the bustling streets of Zarithia's commercial district, a commotion at a nearby stall caught their attention. A young draconian, his scales a vibrant shade of cobalt blue, was vehemently arguing with a vendor. The crowd around them grew, drawn by the spectacle. Curious and concerned, Elara moved closer, Jacob a step behind her. The argument was over a simple misunderstanding about payment, but it resonated with Elara on a deeper level. The draconian's frustration, his sense of being wronged, mirrored her own past helplessness. Without thinking, Elara stepped forward, her voice clear and surprisingly firm. "Please, there is no need for anger. Perhaps there is a way to solve this without conflict." Her intervention surprised Jacob, but the effect on the crowd was even more profound. The tension seemed to dissipate, as if her words reminded them of their better selves. The vendor, taken aback by her calm demeanor, reconsidered his stance and soon, the matter was settled amicably. As they walked away, Jacob looked at Elara with a mix of pride and wonder. "You have a way with people, Elara. You've turned a potential conflict into a peaceful resolution. That's not something everyone can do." Elara shrugged, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "I've had plenty of practice with conflict," she said, half joking. Yet, her skills in mediation were not merely the result of her past, they were a testament to her ability to learn and adapt. This incident sparked an idea in Jacob. You know, you might have a real talent for this. Mediation, diplomacy. Zarithia could use someone like you. Someone who understands both the light and dark sides of life here. Ilara pondered his words. The thought of taking an active role in this new world was daunting, but also exhilarating. Could she, a former slave, really make a difference in such a sophisticated society? Their days continued to unfold with a new routine, each one strengthening Ilara's confidence. They attended workshops and forums, where Ilara's insights into alien psychology and her unique perspective were met with unexpected enthusiasm. She began to see that her experiences, once a source of pain, could now empower her and others. However, not all were pleased with her rising influence. Whispers began to circulate among certain factions within the city, those who viewed her as an outsider, an unknown variable that could disrupt their hold on power. Ilara became aware of eyes watching her, the glint of surveillance drones a constant shadow trailing her movements. One evening, while walking home through a less-traveled sector of the city, they were ambushed. A group of masked figures emerged from the shadows, their intentions clear. Panic surged within Ilara, a visceral reminder of her not-so-distant past. But this time, she was not alone, and she was not defenseless. Jacob and Ilara fought back, their attackers unprepared for their resilience and teamwork. With a combination of Ilara's quick thinking and Jacob's physical strength, they managed to escape, but the incident left them shaken. Back at their safe haven, they tended to each other's minor wounds, the reality of their situation sinking in. They targeted us because we are becoming influential, Jacob said, his voice tight with anger and concern. Ilara nodded, her resolve hardening. Then we must be doing something right, she declared, her fear transforming into determination. We will not let fear dictate our actions. As they sat in the quiet aftermath, planning their next moves, the bond between them deepened, forged in the fires of adversity. Together, they would face whatever challenges came, not just as survivors, but as catalysts for change. In the wake of their ambush, Ilara and Jacob took measures to increase their security, aware that their visibility had made them targets. Despite the danger, their resolve did not waver. Instead, it fueled their commitment to effect change within Zarithia. They spent days strategizing, drawing on both Jacob's contacts and Ilara's growing influence to form alliances with key figures across the city. One such figure was Merrick, a Volarian council member known for his progressive views and influence over the city's security protocols. In a high-rise office overlooking the central district, they met with him under the guise of discussing community integration projects. Merrick, a towering figure with translucent wings that shimmered in the light, listened intently to Ilara's experiences and proposals. Your perspective is invaluable, Ilara, Merrick said, his voice echoing slightly in the spacious room. We've needed a catalyst to push for deeper reforms, and it seems you have become that catalyst. Their conversation turned to the recent attacks, and Merrick's features hardened. I'm aware of the factions opposed to change. They thrive on fear and control. We'll need to be cautious, but also decisive. I can provide additional security, but ultimately, we need to win this on a cultural front, not just a physical one. Ilara nodded, understanding the dual nature of their challenge. The alliance with Merrick provided them not only protection but a platform to amplify their cause. As the weeks passed, Ilara took a more public role, speaking at forums and participating in debates that were broadcast throughout Zarithia. Her ability to articulate the nuances of freedom and oppression resonated with many, drawing crowds that were both supportive and skeptical. Jacob remained by her side, handling the logistics of their operations and ensuring her safety. One evening, as they reviewed footage of her latest debate, Ilara's expression was thoughtful. Do you think they really understand, Jacob? Can they see why change is essential, or am I just a novelty to them? Jacob paused the playback, considering her words. Some see the novelty, but others really listen. You're starting to change minds, Ilara. That's how all great movements begin. Their discussions often lasted into the night, exploring everything from legal reforms to educational initiatives that could help dismantle the systemic inequalities of Zarithia. It was during one of these sessions that they received an unexpected communication. The screen flickered to life, revealing a group of Zillion expatriates who had been following Ilara's rise. They offered their support, bringing with them resources and expertise that could strengthen her position. Ilara, moved by their solidarity, realized how her personal journey had sparked a broader coalition. "We're building something significant here, Jacob. Not just for me or for you, but for everyone who's ever felt powerless." Her words echoed in the room, a reminder of the weight of their endeavor. Days turned into weeks, and their small team grew into a movement. Meetings were cloaked in secrecy, plans were laid with precision, and every step forward was measured against potential threats. Yet, despite the cautious optimism, the path was fraught with dangers. An attempt to sabotage one of Ilara's events led to a near disaster, but quick action and preemptive security measures turned it into a rallying point instead of a tragedy. The incident solidified the public's support for Ilara, painting her not just as a survivor, but as a leader. Amidst this whirlwind of activity, Ilara and Jacob found moments of quiet together, their bond a constant amidst the chaos. In these moments, they shared their fears and hopes, each finding strength in the other's resolve. As they prepared for a major summit that would bring together leaders from various sectors of Zarithia, Ilara looked at Jacob, her expression one of determination mixed with an undeniable warmth. "No matter what happens, we're in this together, right?" Jacob smiled, his response a soft affirmation. "Always." Together, they stepped into the fray, ready to face whatever challenges awaited, their partnership a testament to their shared vision of a better future. The summit was a convergence of minds and motives, a microcosm of Zarithia's diverse societal layers. Held in the Grand Assembly Hall, a towering structure of glass and steel that reflected the city's aspirations, the event was both a diplomatic ballet and a litmus test for Ilara and Jacob's efforts. Security was tight, with drones patrolling the skies and guards stationed at every entry. Inside, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation and undercurrents of dissent. Ilara, dressed in a garment that blended Zillion tradition with Zarithian style, stood beside Jacob as they navigated the crowd, exchanging pleasantries with delegates and dignitaries. Merrick introduced the summit, his voice booming over the assembly. "Today, we stand on the precipice of change. Each of you carries a piece of the future in your hands. Let us shape it together." As Ilara took the stage, her presence commanded attention. Her speech was a tapestry of personal narrative and visionary ideas, weaving her own story of liberation with a call for systemic reform. "We are bound by our shared experiences, though they differ in light and shadow," she began, her voice resonant and clear. "But let us not be blinded by tradition or fear. True progress demands bravery to challenge the status quo and to embrace the unknown." Her words struck a chord, resonating through the hall, challenging each listener to reflect on their role in either perpetuating or dismantling the status quo. Meanwhile, Jacob worked the room, his eyes sharp for any sign of trouble. His conversations were tactful but probing, gathering insights and assessing the temperature of the room. His role as Ilara's protector had evolved into that of an astute strategist, balancing overt protection with subtle influence. As the summit progressed, debates unfolded, with various factions airing their grievances and aspirations. The discussions were intense, reflecting the complexity of issues at hand, from trade policies to alien rights. Ilara engaged with each argument, her intellect and empathy turning adversaries into, if not allies, then at least respectful dissenters. During a recess, Jacob and Ilara retreated to a private balcony overlooking the city. They shared a quiet moment, reflecting on the day's events. "Did you see their faces when you spoke about freedom?" Jacob asked, admiration lacing his words. Ilara nodded, her eyes tracing the skyline. "I saw fear, hope, skepticism, all of it. It's a lot to untangle. And yet, you managed to hold them all together. It's like you're conducting an orchestra," he said, watching her profile against the backdrop of the city. Ilara laughed softly. "If only it were as harmonious. But there are dissonances, Jacob. Some are afraid of what change might mean for their power." "And they should be," Jacob replied, his tone serious. "Change is coming, Ilara. You're steering it." Their conversation was cut short as a message pinged on Jacob's device. A warning from Merrick. A faction opposed to the reforms had been rallying outside, their numbers growing. The security team was on high alert, prepared for any disturbance. Ilara looked down at the gathering crowd, her expression resolute. Let them come. We have truth and justice on our side. Fear will not rule us. As they prepared to return to the hall, Ilara squared her shoulders, her determination palpable. Today, we chart a new course. For Zarithia, for all its inhabitants. The final sessions were a crescendo of ideas and resolutions. Proposals were made, some passed, others tabled for further review. But the momentum was undeniable, driven by Ilara's unyielding spirit and the coalition they had built. As the summit closed, applause filled the hall, not just for the progress made but for the promise of what was to come. Ilara and Jacob shared a look, a silent acknowledgement of the road ahead. They had ignited a spark. Now they needed to nurture the flame. The aftermath of the summit left the city of Zarithia buzzing with conversations and controversies. The resolutions passed had been groundbreaking, and the opposition's voices grew louder and more coordinated. Ilara's visibility as a figurehead of change had never been higher, and with it, the risks had escalated exponentially. In response, Ilara and Jacob intensified their efforts to fortify their network. They convened meetings with various community leaders, aiming to stitch a stronger fabric of alliance across different sectors of society. Their strategy was to decentralize their movement, spreading responsibility and leadership to prevent any single point of failure. One evening, under the canopy of Zarithia's luminescent flora, they met with representatives of the 10th sector, a region known for its skilled artisans and historically marginalized communities. The gathering was informal, but the discussions were anything but light. We've seen movements rise and fall, stated Nia, a local leader whose voice carried the weight of experience. Our support comes with expectations. We need assurances that our people will benefit directly from these changes. Ilara acknowledged her concerns with a nod. Your skepticism is warranted. We're not just shifting power, we're transforming how it's wielded. You will be involved in every step, shaping policies that affect your lives. The conversation moved towards practical steps, education reforms, infrastructure projects, and legal assistance for those who had been exploited under the old regime. Jacob took meticulous notes, his mind already racing through logistics and implementation plans. As they wrapped up the meeting, a young artist approached Ilara, offering her a piece of traditional 10th sector craftsmanship as a token of goodwill. The intricate design was not just beautiful but symbolic of the sector's complex history and resilience. Ilara accepted it with genuine appreciation, understanding its significance as more than just a gift. It was a gesture of tentative trust. Back at their headquarters, a repurposed industrial space that now buzzed with activity, Ilara and Jacob reviewed the security footage from the summit. They were looking for any clues that might indicate potential threats. Amid the mundane clips, one particular interaction caught Jacob's eye, an exchange between a known agitator and a shadowy figure in the background. Looks like we have a lead on who might be stirring up trouble, Jacob muttered, enhancing the image on the screen. I'll have our security team follow up on this. Meanwhile, Ilara continued to receive communications from various planetary systems, her influence growing beyond Zarithia. Messages of support mixed with requests for guidance on how to initiate similar reforms. Each message bolstered her resolve but also underscored the enormity of the task ahead. The next day brought a challenge of a different kind. A major media outlet had launched a series of reports questioning Ilara's past and her rapid ascent to influence. The articles were subtly disparaging, casting doubts about her motives and her authenticity. Ilara read the reports with a steady gaze, her expression unreadable. They're trying to erode our credibility, she observed, handing the tablet back to Jacob. We need to respond, but not in the way they expect. Jacob agreed, his mind already formulating a counter-strategy. Let's use this as an opportunity to open up our processes even more. Transparency could be our best defense. Together, they prepared for a live interview, planning to address the allegations head-on. Ilara was calm, her resolve fortified by the challenges she had already overcome. As the cameras rolled and the interviewer began with pointed questions, Ilara's responses were thoughtful, measured, and disarmingly honest. "We invite scrutiny," she declared, "because we have nothing to hide and everything to gain from being open. Change is messy, it's challenging, but it's also necessary." Her words resonated not just with those who had doubted her but also with those who had watched from the sidelines, undecided. The interview not only neutralized the negative press but also enhanced her stature as a leader committed to integrity and openness. As the day ended, Ilara and Jacob reviewed the feedback from the interview, pleased with the outcome but aware that each day would bring new challenges. Their path was not just about navigating political landscapes but about weaving a new societal tapestry that reflected the diversity and potential of all its threads. The momentum of change that Ilara had initiated was now palpable throughout Zarithia, with echoes reaching even its most remote districts. However, the swell of transformation also stirred deeper undercurrents of resistance. The detractors who had once been mere whispers in shadowed corners were coalescing, their discontent forging a countermovement that began to push back with increasing visibility and vigor. Amid this rising tide of opposition, Ilara continued her outreach, her days filled with strategy sessions and public appearances designed to maintain the initiative's momentum. Her evenings, however, were spent in deeper contemplation with Jacob, analyzing each day's events and planning their next moves with meticulous care. One particular evening, as they pored over various reports of unrest in the industrial sectors, an urgent message arrived from Merrick. The council member's tone was clipped, his message clear: "Meet me at the Civic Plaza at dawn. We've got a situation that could escalate quickly if not handled right." As the first light of dawn streaked the sky, Ilara and Jacob met with Merrick, finding him surrounded by a team of security personnel. Merrick's usual composure was edged with urgency. "We've intercepted communications that suggest a large-scale protest is planned for today. Not just a protest, but a potential riot aimed at derailing the reforms." The location was strategic, chosen to disrupt one of the main transportation hubs and draw maximum attention. Ilara listened intently, her mind racing through potential responses. "We need to address this head-on," she decided. "I'll speak to them. It's crucial they see we understand their fears but are committed to guiding this change responsibly." Jacob was apprehensive, the risk to Ilara's safety palpable. "I'll arrange for additional security." "We can't take any chances," he insisted, his protective instincts in full display. Surrounded by a phalanx of security, Ilara stepped into the heart of the Civic Plaza, her figure becoming a focal point as crowds began to gather, their murmurs growing into a cacophony of dissent. Signs waved above the sea of bodies, slogans of resistance painting a stark picture of the division within the city. As Ilara took the makeshift stage, a hush fell over the crowd. Her presence commanded attention, her voice steady as she addressed the gathered masses. "I stand before you not as your ruler, but as someone who believes in the power of transformation. I know change is frightening, the unknown daunting, but what we are doing here today, what we are all part of, is a rare chance to redefine our society for the better." Her speech was met with a mix of cheers and boos, the crowd divided yet largely captivated. Her words, sincere and compelling, began to turn the tide of the gathering, the initial hostility ebbing as more listened. However, not all were swayed. A small faction began to stir, their agitation growing into outright confrontation. As they surged forward, security moved to intercept, but Ilara raised a hand, signaling them to hold back. Stepping down from the stage, she approached the dissenters, her courage silencing many. "Speak," she urged them. "I am here to listen." Their grievances were raw, filled with fear of displacement and economic insecurity. Ilara responded not with platitudes, but with concrete examples of how the reforms were designed to benefit all, including those who felt most threatened. As the confrontation drew to a close, the protest that had threatened to become a riot dissolved into a dialogue, the crowd dispersing with thoughts provoked and tensions somewhat eased. Returning to their headquarters, Ilara and Jacob reviewed the day's events. "Every step we take stirs the waters, Jacob," Ilara remarked, a hint of weariness in her voice. But today, we turned anger into conversation. That's progress. Jacob nodded, his respect for her courage deepening. It's more than progress, Elara. It's a testament to the strength of your leadership and the truth of our cause. Their journey continued, marked by both small victories and significant challenges. Each day was a balancing act, navigating the delicate threads of societal change, weaving a tapestry that would either hold strong or unravel, depending largely on the resilience and wisdom of its weavers. In the wake of the near riot at Civic Plaza, the city of Zarithia entered a phase of heightened alert. The balance between maintaining order and nurturing the fledgling reforms was delicate, and both Elara and Jacob felt the weight of their responsibilities more acutely than ever. To counteract the rising tension, they launched a series of community outreach programs designed to directly address the concerns of Zarithia's most vulnerable populations. These programs included job training sessions, legal aid clinics, and open forums where citizens could voice their concerns in a structured, peaceful environment. Elara took a hands-on approach to these initiatives, her presence at events a clear message of her commitment. At one such forum, held in a newly established community center in one of the industrial sectors, she listened intently to a litany of worries from a group of factory workers. Their fears centered around automation and AI, technologies that promise progress but also threaten their livelihoods. I understand your concerns, Elara responded, her voice imbued with empathy. Technology should not be a force that displaces us but one that uplifts us. We are working to ensure that as we embrace these advancements, we do so with policies in place that prioritize your jobs and your families. Her assurances were met with cautious optimism, but it was clear that trust would have to be earned through action, not just words. Meanwhile, Jacob focused on fortifying their operational security. The recent unrest had revealed vulnerabilities that could not be ignored. He coordinated with Merrick and other allies to enhance surveillance and intelligence gathering capabilities, aiming to preempt any further threats. However, their efforts could not deter all dangers. Late one evening, as Elara was returning from a community event, a sudden attack jolted her convoy. Armed assailants, their identities obscured by high-tech cloaking devices, launched a coordinated strike, aiming to kidnap Elara. The security detail reacted swiftly, their countermeasures disrupting the attackers' cloaking tech and revealing their affiliations through hidden insignias. They were mercenaries, likely hired by a faction opposed to the reforms. In the chaos, Elara found herself momentarily isolated, her guards engaged with the assailants. Her survival instincts, honed during her years of captivity and now fueled by her resolve to not be a victim again, kicked in. She fought back with surprising ferocity, disarming one of her attackers and using his own weapon against the others. By the time Jacob and additional security forces arrived, the attackers had been subdued. The crisis was averted, but the message was clear: the path they had chosen was fraught with peril. Back at their headquarters, as they debriefed, Elara's demeanor was calm but resolute. "This attack shows that we are making an impact," she said, addressing her team. "Our adversaries are getting desperate. We must stay vigilant but undeterred." Jacob, while relieved at her safety, was shaken. "We'll increase your security detail," he insisted. "We can't afford another close call." Elara agreed, understanding the necessity of heightened security. Yet, she remained focused on their broader mission. "Our work must continue," she affirmed. "Fear will not dictate our actions." As they prepared for the next day, planning an assembly to address the recent violence and reinforce their commitment to the reforms, Elara's thoughts were with the people of Zarithia. Her resolve to transform the society that had once enslaved her was unshaken, driven by a deep belief in the potential for change. With each challenge, their movement adapted and grew stronger, a testament to the resilience and unity of those who dared to envision a better future. The escalation of violence against Elara and her movement pushed Zarithia's society to a tipping point. While the attack had been thwarted, its repercussions echoed throughout the city, stirring a mix of fear, anger, and defiant solidarity among the populace. In response to the growing unrest, Elara and Jacob organized a massive rally in the heart of Zarithia. The event was designed not just as a show of strength but also as a demonstration of the inclusive vision they championed. Citizens from all sectors, backgrounds, and species gathered, their diverse faces a mosaic of the city's complex identity. As Elara stepped onto the stage, her image was broadcast across Zarithia, reaching even the farthest outskirts of the city. The crowd hushed, their attention rapt as she began to speak, her voice resolute and inspiring. Today, we stand united, not just in our aspiration for a reformed Zarithia, but in our commitment to peace and justice, Elara proclaimed. Violence has been used as a tool to intimidate and silence us, but we will not be swayed by fear. Her speech, punctuated by cheers, laid out a detailed plan for integrating technological advancements with workforce development, ensuring that no citizen would be left behind in the wake of progress. She also announced the formation of a new civic defense force, composed of volunteers from various districts, to protect the city against any future threats. Jacob, watching from the side of the stage, felt a surge of pride mixed with relentless vigilance. The security measures in place were extensive, with drones overhead and guards interspersed through the crowd, all coordinated through a central command center that he had helped design. As the rally concluded, the crowd dispersed peacefully, their spirits lifted by Elara's words and the clear direction she had articulated. The event was a resounding success, a moment of unity that seemed to heal some of the wounds inflicted by recent conflicts. However, the challenge of maintaining momentum was ever present. In the days following the rally, Elara and Jacob met with their council of advisors to address the logistical and political hurdles that lay ahead. Their discussions were intense and exhaustive, covering everything from economic policy to interplanetary relations. During one such meeting, a confidential report was brought to their attention by one of Jacob's trusted security analysts. It detailed a covert network of corruption linking several high-ranking officials to the mercenary groups that had attacked Elara. The implications were severe, threatening to undermine the very foundation of their reform efforts. Elara reviewed the report with a steely gaze, her mind working through the ramifications. "We need to expose this corruption, but we must be strategic about it," she advised her team. "Let's gather more evidence and plan for a coordinated strike against these networks. We'll bring them down from the inside out." Jacob coordinated the surveillance operations, using a combination of cyber intelligence and fieldwork to penetrate the shadowy web of intrigue. Each piece of evidence they gathered was carefully logged and analyzed, building a case that would eventually be brought before the Zarithian judicial system. Amid these critical operations, Elara continued to engage with the public, her outreach efforts undiminished. She visited schools, factories, and residential districts, her presence a reassuring signal to the citizens of Zarithia that their leader was not sequestered away from the realities they faced but was actively working alongside them. Each visit was a reminder of the stakes of their struggle, the faces of the people a mosaic of hope and determination that fueled Elara's resolve. With each handshake, each shared story, the fabric of their new society seemed to weave tighter, stronger. As they prepared for the upcoming judicial confrontations, Elara and Jacob knew that the road ahead would be fraught with more challenges. But together, with the support of the citizens and the integrity of their cause, they were ready to face whatever storms might come, their commitment to change unshakable. The gathered intelligence finally culminated in a sweeping operation that took Zarithia by storm. Early one morning, coordinated raids across the city targeted the corrupt officials and their clandestine backers. The operation was precise, designed to inflict maximum disruption on the corrupt network while minimizing collateral damage. Elara and Jacob monitored the raids from their command center, surrounded by screens displaying various angles of the operation. The atmosphere was tense, each arrest marking a step towards cleansing the rot within their system. Once the raids concluded, the city seemed to exhale a collective breath of relief and anticipation. News of the crackdown spread quickly, bolstering public confidence in the reforms. Elara addressed the city in a broadcast that evening, her presence calm and authoritative. "Today's actions are a testament to our commitment to transparency and justice," Elara declared. "We have taken significant steps to remove the corruption that has hindered our progress. This is not the end but a new beginning, a promise of the integrity and diligence that will define our governance." In the weeks that followed, the trials of the arrested officials were conducted with high transparency. Ilara ensured that the proceedings were broadcast live, allowing all of Zarifia to witness the accountability process firsthand. The trials were a spectacle of justice, each verdict a stitch in the fabric of the new society they were building. Meanwhile, the civic defense force that Ilara had announced at the rally began to take shape. It was composed of volunteers from every district, trained and ready to defend their city's ideals. Jacob took a lead role in organizing the force, applying both his strategic mind and his unwavering dedication to ensuring their effectiveness. As the city stabilized and the new policies began to take effect, Ilara found herself at the center of a transformed Zarifia. The reforms had begun to bear fruit, with technological integration boosting the economy and education reforms expanding opportunities for all citizens. One afternoon, as Ilara walked through a revitalized district, her path crossed with that of a young girl, her eyes wide with curiosity. The girl approached her, a digital tablet in hand, displaying one of Ilara's speeches. "You're my hero," the girl said shyly. "I want to be brave like you when I grow up." Ilara knelt down to her level, her smile warm and genuine. "You already are brave," she replied, handing her a small emblem of the Civic Defense Force. "Keep this as a reminder that you can change the world, just like we're trying to do." The encounter left Ilara reflective and hopeful. Later, sitting with Jacob on a public terrace overlooking the city's gleaming skyline, she shared her thoughts. "We've changed so much, but the true measure of our success will be the legacy we leave," she mused. "It's about the choices we make every day, the kind of world we model for the next generation." Jacob nodded, his eyes on the horizon. "And we'll keep making those choices together." The city before them buzzed with life, a vibrant testament to their efforts and a beacon of potential for the future. As the sun set, casting long shadows over the buildings, the challenges they had faced seemed to dissolve into the light of their achievements. In this new era for Zarifia, Ilara and Jacob stood not just as leaders, but as harbingers of a profound transformation, their partnership a cornerstone of the resilience and unity that would guide their society forward. As the stars emerged above the city, their shared journey resonated as a beacon of hope, not just for Zarifia, but for any world yearning for change.